to the Soulfire Podcast, where healing is raw, truth is sacred, and your story gets to burn and rebuild in the same breath. I'm Power Coach Alishia, pattern breaker, soul mirror, fire starter, and the unapologetic voice of the burn it down and rise anyways revolution. We don't fluff your wounds, we don't filter your truth, and we don't water down healing so that people stay comfortable. You've spent way too damn long proving your worth to people who only love the version of you that stayed small, quiet, and convenient. If you've ever swallowed your truth to keep the peace, shrunk yourself to stay chosen, or disappeared in your life, this season isn't just a reset or another motivational podcast. This is where you reclaim your voice, your fire, and your fucking self. I'll give you the truth that heals, frameworks that hold, and soul codes that will change how you live, lead, love, and rise. Lovey, come forward. It's time for you to embody your wholeness. And I'm not only leading this season, I'm living it right beside you. Let's fucking go. For a really long time, I was automatically a person who saw everything negatively. I spoke negatively. Everything was that way. And then I started down the personal development track. And I feel like one of the first books I ever read was Attitude is Everything by Jeffrey Keller and The Magic of Thinking Big. And I don't remember who it's by. I can actually look that up. But also The Magic of Thinking Big. And Attitude is Everything really set me on this mindset shifting sort of thing. And I went on to change my entire mindset and to be powerfully positive. Oh, David J. Schwartz is The Magic of Thinking Big. I love these two books. Attitude is Everything. Do that one first and then follow it up with The Magic of Thinking Big and change your life, okay? The thing about it is I had to work really, really, really hard because I guess I was just a pessimistic person and I didn't know enough about it at the time, positive attitude, negative attitude, pessimistic, optimistic. It wasn't something that was on the forefront of my mind. But I quickly learned that the energy that you lead with is the energy that you attract. Or, as in today's episode, the energy you lead with is the currency you attract. And this episode's going to wrap up our Aligned Abundance series where we're talking all about letting it be easy, letting it be true, and letting it be yours. And the main thing that I want you to realize is you don't attract what you want anywhere, any way, any place in your life. You attract what you are. And so something that I always say as well is people can't treat you the way you don't already treat yourself. And this has been a huge eye opener for me in the, journey that I have been going through, not only the last 19 months, but really spotlighted, I would say the last 90 days, actually 90 days today, is that no one can treat you the way that you don't already treat yourself, which I'm not saying I didn't know that and I was teaching everybody that, right? I knew that. And I also realized that people are the mirror of you. But I guess from my perspective and the whole thing is I didn't think of it at that depth, right? I wasn't thinking in the depth. Oh, if you feel invisible, it's because you treat yourself invisible. If you're abandoning yourself, or if you feel like people are constantly abandoning you, it's because you're abandoning yourself. I thought, if you take care of yourself, you meditate, you take time for yourself, and you show that self-care, then people would respect that, honor that, hold space. That's how I thought of it, as people can only treat you the way that you treat yourself. If you're disrespecting yourself, then they're going to be disrespecting you, so on and so forth. But I never took it at the depth of invisibleness, feeling unloved, feeling abandoned, feeling like you're not worthy and you don't matter. But the truth is, it's everything everywhere and it's in all of the ways. And of course, logically speaking, duh, why wouldn't it be, right? But the energy that you lead with is absolutely the currency you attract. And one of my challenges has been that somewhere along the way, I shifted back. And I have been working, I'll notice I'll start to shift and then I'm like, okay, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, and I just start bathing in all of that and I'll shift my mindset for temporary, but boom, then I'll be back in that negative mindset and then boom, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, and then I get back into it and my mindset will shift and then I'm back again. And so this time I was like, you know what? Something that I once had the wires connected on and really held on to is completely disconnected. And yes, I can take these actions and they are slightly working to get me back up on track, but then I fall back into that default mode that I had well before I even started my personal development journey 20 years ago on the negative mindset. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull back out Attitude is Everything by Jeffrey Keller, and I'm going to start over and I'm going to listen to Attitude is Everything. And then I go the magic of thinking big. And my brain has been thinking, okay, but where did you go after that? And I'm not quite sure what I read after that. But those two books were very pivotal in shifting my mindset from this chronic pessimistic negativity, seeing it bad, seeing it wrong, seeing, the negative meaning da 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 da, to a way more positive outlook. And then I continued on and I reframed my words and what I spoke. I've never actually gotten through the entire book beginning to end, but Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is another really powerful one. Living in Day-Tight Compartments. I know that changed my life. I think that's Dale Carnegie, or I might have them backwards. Sometimes I interlock those. Excuses Be Gone by Dr. Wayne Dyer is another book that changed my life. But did I call the book Live in Day-Tight Compartments? I got to clap. I got to clap for myself on that because that was the message I needed to hear today. It's actually called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is the name of the book. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. That is so funny that I did that. One of the concepts in that book. Oh yeah, Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. One of the concepts is living in day-type compartments, right? I just thought that that was so funny because that's one of the pieces of that that's really powerful. I understand I'm rattling off a lot of books. Why am I rattling off these books? Because these are all books that will help you shift the energy that you lead with so you can attract what it is that you really want. Okay. Because here's the deal. The illusion is that there's some like, oh, this strategy works. Like if I just follow this strategy, it's going to work. Listen, you can check all the boxes and you can still block all the blessings and everything that's meant to come to you. Because I believe, and I hate admitting this, but what Soulfire Podcast is real life, real shit, real raw, right? I believe that my biggest number one thing that has held me back from building my soul aligned business as a soul healer and a soul astrologist opposed to a business coach has been my attitude. That belief, that negativity creeping up. Because listen, I was showing up every day, doing the work, hustling, putting in the effort, creating the programs, running retreats, running soul camps, doing all of the things. However, the version of me I was leading with didn't believe that I could succeed at it, that I could get paid for that I could make a career, an empire, a queendom out of that. And I had this belief system that the only way that I was going to make the real money and have the real success was through being a business coach and hustling, pushing, forcing, must do, should do, have to sort of energy. And I realized that every time I stepped into the soul business, the soul energy, the thing that I realized was that I was moving in flow in that like divine feminine sort of energy, letting things come and go and be and move as they were meant to. No hustle, force, push, must do, should do, have to sort of energy. I was just moving as I moved. And the challenge with that was it drove me crazy and it made me feel like this isn't going to work. I've got to be da 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 that will get me this result. And I know that if I do that, I will. And it would constantly suck me back into business coaching because of that energy. And this is like recently up to, late 2024 that this was fucking happening. And I was like, I've got to figure this out. And then I'd go back and do this and do that. And guess what? Nothing ever worked. Nothing ever worked. Nothing ever worked. And it wasn't that the camps weren't selling and the retreats weren't selling and that my programs weren't selling because they were. It's that this belief kept sabotaging and I would drop it all and then go. And then I would drop it all and then go back and then drop it all and then go back. And now I'm in this groove and I'm listening to Attitude is Everything and I'm rewiring my brain to be more positive. You'll notice that I'll like pause a little bit more in a sentence because I am thinking about how to rephrase what it is I want to say with positive, powerful phrasing because that's a huge part of it, is like when you decide that you want to shift into that powerful energy to attract what it is that you want, you got to do it immediately. You got to take that action immediately. You got to say right now. Does that mean that I don't still have negative phrasing and say negative things and come from negative perspectives and give things negative meanings? No. I mean, I'm human, right? However, it'll come out of my mouth, and it might even happen here on the podcast. I'll say, actually, rephrase, or actually, or mm, da, 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 and then I'll change what I just said and phrase it powerfully, because that's what it is, right? That is rewiring, is not stopping yourself from saying it in the first place. That's not the goal. The goal is to first catch how you're speaking, then rephrase it, reframe it, and give it the power and say what it is that you want, instead of naming what it is that you don't want, or naming what it is that you're upset about, or naming the pain, right? You're naming what it is you want, what it is that you want to attract, and what it is that you're calling in. So if someone is, let's say, disrespecting you, you say, I hate how you always disrespect me. It's so frustrating. It's like, I don't feel loved. I don't understand why you even want this. Da, 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 da. You are naming all the pain, and you are naming what you don't want. But if someone disrespects you and you say, listen, when you treat me like that, it feels disconnected. And I want to be connected with you. So to do that, I'm asking you if you would please da 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 da. Even though that kind of started in a little bit of a negative phrasing, you could even shift it even more powerfully and be like, listen, Queen, if this episode lights something up, don't just sit with it. Come rise with us. The Soulfire Podcast is your weekly reminder that healing isn't about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who the fuck you've always been. And if you're craving more than just words, if you want community, authentic power, momentum, and soul transformation, then I want you to come join us in the free star-guided soul healing community. This isn't another group. It's a vortex of women who are done pretending, who are reclaiming their power, their voice, and their divine assignment, and who know they were never meant to do this alone. Inside, we speak truth. We rise with soul-coded frameworks like Rise Times 3 and AUA, plus your own soul-coded values. We break patterns, we burn illusions, and we build empires because we rise. So come be witnessed, come be held, come be at home. Check out the link in the show notes. And please remember to subscribe, share, and send this podcast to a queen who's ready to rise. Now, back to the fire. I completely see where you were coming from when you made that decision, you took that action, you said what you said. However, I want to move with you in an energy that feels yummy, and it feels good, and it feels connected, and it feels deep. And in order to do that, or how I feel that way, is when I feel seen, heard, and understood. And the way that I feel seen, heard, and understood is when I share with you that you are present and you put yourself in my shoes when I'm sharing the things with you, so that you can see how I truly feel, so we can build from there, just as I will do for you as well. It will make us stronger, it'll bring us closer, and it will help us build a stronger foundation. Now, they are still knowing that you don't like, accept, or allow what it is that they said or did that got this conversation started. However, you're leading the conversation to what you want and the result of that and what it will do for the relationship, rather than the direction of cyclic destruction and insanity loops. There has been so many times where I've executed perfectly. I did what I needed to do, but nothing landed. And listen, it's not because you're broken. It's just that you're building from a disconnected energy. So it's about leading from the energy that it is that you want to attract. We've talked about this on the podcast before on a different perspective of like your vibe attracts your tribe. That's a podcast episode that I did. So if you have friends that aren't, the kind of friends that you want, well, what kind of vibe are you giving out? And if you want new friends, what kind of vibe are you going to give out in the environment that you're going to go into where you're going to meet new people? Like, one of my big things right now is I want a tribe that is in line with my spiritual path, my belief systems, and, how I view the world. And I don't mean, rephrase. What I mean by that is, see how I just did that? Look at me go. What I mean by that is people who are like-minded that help me grow. So rather than agreeing with me and people who see everything the way I see it, I just want us to be aligned spiritually. And I want to be able to grow as a person in beautiful ways as it pertains to that relationship. I understand that lessons will happen and growth opportunities will be given, along the way, because that's what the journeys are about. I just want to create an environment and a tribe that calls those people in. So one of the things I'm going to do is start going to more like moon and spiritual and astrological and energetic and star cosmos sort of events, because I know that that's where, rephrase, I believe that that's where the tribe that I'm calling in is hanging out. So the layer to that is, okay, when I show up there though, who am I showing up as? And I mean this in a powerful way. Because if I show up in, let's say, a shell or a past version of myself, instead of the embodied, beautiful queen that I am now, then that tribe is going to be built like the past version of myself. So it's like remembering that when I walk through that door, that I am a queen who moves to her own rhythm. I am a SOULstrologist who uses birth charts to help you heal your soul, and that I am born to teach people how to save themselves, right? And that I am loud and I am eccentric and I am charismatic and I am commanding and funny and and remembering who the fuck I am when I walk through those doors in my full power and my full brilliance and my full wholeness. Boxes don't exist, are not allowed here. Shrinking editing doesn't exist, they're not allowed here. The only way, though, that that can become the truth is how I show up in order to attract that. Okay. So hopefully that helps you, get what I mean by that. Because when you're doing this sort of conscious work and effort, you are attracting who you are. Okay. You are attracting who you are. And it's about aligning how you show up, your communication, your energy, your aura with a nervous system that's also aligned. So like if I show up and I'm freaking out and I'm nervous and, well, let me rephrase, and my nervous system is like in a fight or flight. So maybe I'm not nervous, but my nervous system is in a fight or flight. I'm going to be editing myself, right? I'm going to be shrinking down. I'm not going to speak up. I'm not going to be the bold me. And then before I know it, I'm attracting who I was when I showed up. So the most important and first most important thing is that your nervous system needs to be calibrated. So you want to have your nervous system calibrated so that your message can be true. When your nervous system is calibrated and your message is true, you will attract what it is that you desire, because you are being solely and truthfully who you are to your core. Now, this is something that I'm actively living right now and keeping at the forefront and remembering, because I've never thought of myself, I've always thought of myself as someone who shows up very honest, real, raw, and I am that person. However, there's always been this layer of editing and shrinking and performing it at some level to be liked, to be loved, to be wanted, to be accepted, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be chosen. And so now I am moving in an energy of paying attention to, is this is this 100% so fucking foundationally authentic that they are seeing the true me? Or am I in the middle of an edit, or am I editing so that they can have, see, be, feel what it is that makes them feel comfortable while I am sacrificing them? And this can come out in so many different ways. Like, it's nuts. So I've had a lot of knee problems. And when I went to Amarillo about a month ago, I hit my shin. I don't even know if I've told this story on the podcast yet, but here we are. I hit my shin really hard with the entire weight of my body on this fucking bed frame that stuck too far out. And the pain, the level of pain just in my shin, I can't even explain. It hurt so fucking bad. However, my knee was already fucked up, but it was on the like good men's side. I would say on any given day, my knee was still giving me problems between a 2 and a 4 out of 10. And then I hit my bed on this or my knee on the, or my shin, excuse me, on this bed frame. And I think what it did, because I was like getting ready to turn the corner around the bottom of the bed. So it was my right shin. All of my weight went into it, and I think it jarred my knee. Because from there, now my knee has this weird pressure. It doesn't bend right. It's swollen in a completely different spot. It doesn't even hurt or have issues in the same spot that it was in. It's a completely different pain and issue. Well, the other one is still there a little bit, like while it's still there, now it's like this is a new issue that is the forefront. Now, the reason why I'm explaining that to you, because it's really important. I went on a trip and I went to see my friend in Idaho and, hanging out, love her, I've known her, we've been friends since we were 13/14 years old. I'm not sure if we were 13 or 14, but we've been friends for a very, very, very long time. We've gone through a lot together, and there was a lot of life that we didn't go through together either, and we just kind of did our own thing and figured it out on our own. So I've always been this like caretaker sort of energy sort of person. And I will always be that because it is a huge part of me. It's just learning how to caretake myself first. And then also when I caretake for other people, that it's not at the expense of me. And so this is what happened. She wanted me to go out and ride with her while she drove Uber. Oh, DoorDash. And she has two young daughters, 2 and 6 years old. Cool, fine. They, iPad, hang out in the back seat, whatever. I'd be riding. I was out visiting, but she needed to go make some money. So it was like this whole, way that we could all be together. It was like win, 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 win sort of thing. And I honestly, I love my girls. I love her daughters. There are my children. I love them. Okay. So this isn't about, oh, these aren't my kids, so I have this issue. It's not that. I love her daughters like they're my own children. Okay. So the first thought in my mind was, okay, so I'm going to be in the car 3 or 4 hours nonstop with two young girls. I mean, she's in and out, she'll be getting food, she'll be delivering food, da 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 da, but I'll be in with them. So first thing was my nervous system. Tight space, can't get them into their own thing, and I'm with them 100% of the time. So that was my first thing. But whatever. I can handle that. Not a big deal. My second thing was my knee. Being bent in the car like that for 3 or 4 hours and not being able to adjust it and help it. And listen, I had fallen in a hole when I took the girls outside to just like run around the night before. So I had fallen and jarred my fucking knee. I twisted my top of my foot all fucked up. So I was already in a layer of pain that I wasn't in 2 days before. My knee was fucked up and there was that, but there wasn't a pain with my foot and now an added layer with my knee. But I fell in the hole. That's a whole other story. Maybe I'll tell you all about it on the podcast one day or do a long form post or something. That was a fucking nightmare. I've never screamed like that before in my goddamn life ever. It was horrible. But anyways, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, she says, I'm like, yeah, I could do that. This is what I fucking say. I say, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll be within 20 minutes of home. So if my knee gets in too much pain, then you can just bring me in the girl's back and then I'll be able to take care of it. Hear what I just said. Hear what I said. I said, if my knee gets too much in pain, then I move. If I'm in too much pain, then I'll make a decision for myself. If I'm in too much pain, then I'll take care of myself. If I'm in too much pain, then I'll move. How many fucking times have you done that? Those words came out of my mouth. It was about, like, they came out of my mouth and I went, what the fuck? Really, Alicia? You can't go. I gotta drink my shake. So if you hear me drinking, whatever, right? Real life or shit, real raw, right? I literally was like, you can't go. If you're gonna honor yourself, you say no. Do you know how fucking hard it was? Words came out of my mouth, and now I'm like processing this, knowing I can't go. And it's not that I can't because I'm unable. I can't because it would not be in service of who I am now and how I move for me. It would be taking way tons of steps backwards instead of forwards. And I'm focused on steps in the direction of choosing myself, my soul, my rhythm, and what feels best for me, regardless of what anyone else chooses to do, not do, show up, not show up, whatever. Be in my life, not be in my life. Be together with me, not be together with me. That is irrelevant. So an hour goes by and I say, you know what? I'm not going to go. And actually, I could use a break. I just could use some silence for a minute to like recalibrate my head and just have just a minute to myself. And so I would love it if you would actually take them with you because she had already done that. Okay. This wasn't me asking her to do something she hadn't done. She'd already done. I'd love if you could take them with you. And then if you want to drop them off around 6, I'll keep them all the way till 10. You could DoorDash for the evening for another 5-6 hours like that, or 4 or 5 hours. Like that's totally good. I'm not gonna go. That's not gonna be good for my knee, and I just need a second. And it was so empowering to agree to something, immediately realize like, what the fuck are you doing? Find my soul courage and confidence to choose me. And it might sound stupid to you, but I didn't realize I did things like that all the time. I do I want to say I do, but I'm going to keep it in past tense like I did. Like who does that? Maybe you do. So maybe you need to hear this. Like who does that? I'm going to wait till I get in pain and then I'm going to choose me. What the fuck? And you know what? We do that with everything. That's just physical pain. What about emotional pain? What about how you feel? What about pain in your marriage? What about pain as a mother? What about pain as a daughter, a sister, a friend? Like, we'll wait until it gets so unbearable and then we move? Yeah. If your life isn't matching your vision, how you want to feel, along the journey, when you show up, when you kiss, when you make love, when you hold your children, when you go to work, when you run the business, when you fill in the blank, if your life isn't matching your vision, it's not asking you for more effort. It's asking you to match the energy. It's asking you to match the frequency. That's what it's asking for. And that's where it gets nuts because it's like, if you need to match the energy, don't you think that's the first step is matching the energy? So, right before I left on this trip, there was something that was born through me. And this is the beautiful thing about stillness and shifting your focus to your energy, your mindset, powerful phrasing, positivity, calling in what you want, focusing on what you do want to attract, focusing on what's right, focusing on what you're grateful for. All of those things is because things become born through you, whether you are a business owner or not. Just really cool things. And what was born was a reset. And I created a monthly reset. And I feel like this monthly reset is about us, you and I, learning how to get in rhythm, our own individual rhythm, outside of being a mother, a wife, a executive, a business owner, you know, all of it. It doesn't matter if you're not a wife, right? But partner or daughter or sister or friend, outside of all of that, finding your own rhythm. So I created what's called the Rhythm Membership, and it's a sacred space for you to come back to your body, your emotional center, and your soul's natural timing. And every single month, you receive a powerful soul message that will help ground and guide you, a ritual to regulate your nervous system, and then a mantra that you can use to stay anchored in your own self, in your own rhythm, and then a soul guided process to reconnect with your truth. And then when you go through and you do all those things, you will unlock a personalized moon sign mirror and ritual for yourself every single month. Okay? Every month is brand new. Nothing repeats. It's just straight rhythm for your soul. Okay? So that you can work with your emotions and so that you can break your own emotional sabotage cycles, where you can catch yourself like I did in that moment and go, no, and then step forward in a power, regardless of how the person feels, what they say, if they're mad, it doesn't matter. I am doing this regardless. This membership is about calibration. It's about getting into your rhythm so you can then take that rhythm and then use your soul blueprint to heal. You can join anytime, you can cancel anytime, okay? It's $5.55 per month at the time that I'm recording it. And it is fucking brilliant. And I am so, so, so proud of it, grateful for it. It's completely divine. And I'm just looking forward to what this does for you and how it helps you. So the link will be in the show notes. Definitely check that out. And I think that it's so powerful because it helps you get in a rhythm, because there is a huge cost. There's a huge cost for performative alignment. If you're trying to look aligned, trying to show up, trying to do what's right, trying to be like in the leading role with the right thing and the right way and all of those things, and your body hasn't caught up yet, then what ended up happening is you think you're in flow, but you're actually moving in fear, dressed up as ease. So the big key to this, and this is why the rhythm membership exists, is to get you in a rhythm where you are actually aligned and to do it long enough so that your body can catch up. What that means by your body catching up is your nervous system being able to attune to that or tune to that. Because yes, being in rhythm is so important. However, if that rhythm is out of tune, then that rhythm ends up being something that takes you away from where you want to go instead of toward it. So it's about getting in a rhythm that is aligned and staying in it long enough for your nervous system to catch up and calibrate to it. Because what happens is you start to get in a rhythm of like, okay, I'm getting this and I'm showing up for yourself. And then something catches you off guard, like, hey, are you going to come drive with me or ride with me and the girls today? And your habit, your default mode, your belief system kicks up. Like your RES goes, hell yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go. And then if I just end up in too much pain, then I'll be within 20 minutes of the house. You can bring me back. See, then that interrupts the rhythm that you were building. Your soul kicks in and goes, what the fuck are you talking about? And now you're faced with a choice. Do you speak up for yourself so that you can get your body, your nervous system aligned with your rhythm? Or do you keep with what you said because you don't want to take it back? Because you don't want to hurt them, because you don't want to upset them, because you don't want to let them down. What do you do? Because if you move in a way where you choose yourself, whether or not it lets them down is irrelevant. When you move in a way where you choose yourself, that's how you get into aligned rhythm and get in that place long enough for your nervous system to catch up. And instead of thinking you were in flow, which has been a huge eye opener for me, I know that I am. Because no matter how strong I am, no matter how bold I am, no matter how I'll say where the bear shits, it it does bother me to think that if I say no, or I walk, quote unquote, walk away, or I choose me, or I do something for myself, or I don't invite fill in the blank to what I'm going to go do, even though that they would enjoy it, my instant reflex default is to feel guilty. Oh, they would really like that too. Maybe I should invite them along with me. Instead of, do you want to do this alone? Do you want someone to go with you? I mean, I'd love to invite so and so along. Okay, cool. Then do that. But what about so and so? That's gonna make them feel bad. That's not really. See what I'm saying? So no, even though I'm the strong person, blah blah blah, and I'm the one teaching you this, my mind still wants to feel guilty. It still wants to go back. It still wants to change it. It still wants to include the person when I didn't even think about wanting them to go in the first place. And so that's where the rhythm alignment, nervous system alignment is so important, is because the past version of me would have invited the other person because I would have felt guilty that I didn't invite them and how that would make them feel. And I always want to be a source in people's life that lifts them up and gives them power and helps them believe a little bit longer, deeper, right? And so if I don't invite them, I am doing the opposite of that. And so, okay, I'm going to invite them. But how hold on though? What if my soul is calling for this person to go and that person only? But my mind says you better invite this person because then you're doing the opposite of what it is that is true to your heart if you don't. Well, then what do you do? Because, like I said, I want to be the light. I want to be the power. I want to be the positivity. I want to be the belief that that person has when they felt all was lost. I want to give them that. And it's like, well, what do you mean? You're just talking about whether or not to invite them somewhere. Yeah. But if I go and I don't invite them and they know that I go and they're not invited, instead of being the belief that they didn't have, I'm reconfirming a fear or a wound, and I don't want to be that for them. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not about, oh, I've, done personal development for 20 years. I've gone to seminars and trainings. I have my own fucking podcast. This is the fourth season, which would be the fourth year. Da, 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 da. I've written 2 books, and we can go on and on and on and on and on. We all continue through our journey, and we're all going through the evolution and growing and transforming if we're, connected, open, and welcome to it. And so this has just been so important for me to share with you because it's been huge. And so the next piece is surrender and not control. Because do you remember how I said that to her? And then my soul was like, fuck no. That is not how we do things anymore. Your answer is no. You're staying here. You need solitude. You need quiet. You're holding a lot of heaviness right now. There's a lot of chaos. You need quiet, right? So what I could control was my decision for myself, that personal empowerment. And I had to surrender what she did with it. And that's where it can be so challenging because you want to be able to make the decision and say no for yourself and in personal empowerment. And you want that other person to support you through that. That's what you want. However, that's outside of your circle of control. You don't get to decide whether that person supports you through it. Because let me be fucking clear. People are only going to 100% support you through the decisions you make 100% of the time if you're making the decisions they think you should. And the majority of the time, the decisions that they think that you should make centers them, not you. So run that back. People are only going to support the decisions you make 100% of the time when you make a decision that they think you should. And because we're human, the decision that they want you to make or they think you should make usually centers them and what they want. That doesn't make them selfish. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about selfish people. I'm talking about being human. So, the chance of you disappointing someone when you choose not to go on DoorDash and hang out when you went to hang out and see them in the first place and also ask them to take their children so that you can have some peace and quiet. Don't you think that that's a lot saying, man, she came here, she doesn't want to spend time with me, my kids are getting on her nerves, this fucking pisses me off. Like, don't you think that she could take that and run? Maybe. But guess what? I didn't give a fuck. If that's what she chose to do, I was willing to load up all my fucking shit and leave. Why? Because my physical body, my soul, and my peace was way more important than how the fuck she felt about it. Guess what? She was cool. She did exactly what I asked of her. And it was awesome. However, that's the surrender. So Tony Robbins does this thing where he says, go all the way to the end. Like, imagine worst case scenario. So go all the way to the end, worst case scenario. Imagine it happening, and then come back to the current moment and make your decision. Because now you know, if you go all the way to the end, you imagine it happening. If the worst case scenario happens, decide what you'll do. I forgot to say that. Decide what you're going to do if it does happen. And then bloop, come back to the moment and make your decision of what you're going to do. Because now you've always imagined worst case scenario. You know, I have known that for God knows how long. I can't even tell you. What year are we in? At least 13 years I have known that. And I have always remembered, go all the way to the end. That's how you learn how to rewire and make decisions that are empowering instead of out of fear. But you know what the piece I missed was? I always went to the end of what would happen to me. Check the car, DoorDash situation. I imagine worst case scenario. Okay, that's the thing. Go all the way to the end. Okay, my knee is in pain. That's my worst case scenario. My knee hurts so fucking bad from riding around in this car that I can't do it anymore. Okay, well then what would you do? Well, we would be within 20 minutes of home. So you could just bring me back to the house and I can take care of it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll go with you. Do you see what I did? I went to my worst case scenario to make the decision. That's not what it's teaching. That's not his point in teaching you that. His point is go to the worst case scenario if you made this empowered decision for your fucking self. I've always gone to the worst case scenario of if I made the decision and it fucked me over, it hurt me, it caused me issues, it caused me pain, they were mad at me, da 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 da, then what would I do? How would I rectify that for them? Or in this case, how could I serve them now and also take care of myself if worst case scenario happens? No, 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 no. Do you do that? Do you do that too? Listen, I just realized I did this like a week ago, okay? I've never talked about this before. Now, it's what's the worst case scenario if I make this decision for myself? And then what will I do if that happens? And then make this decision for myself. Before it was, what's the worst case scenario that happens if I make this decision that they want me to make? And I have any suffering or I have any pain or I have any hurt or whatever the fuck it is, traumas, demons, burdens, whatever the fuck, then what am I going to do? Do you see what's wrong with that? One positions them in the center and you as the outside. But you can't live life like that. You can't position people, including your children, as the center. You have to be the center or else you will not exist later on to be there for them, with them, for them, by them, whatever. You won't. And that's been my biggest lesson. I mean, there's been a fuck ton of lessons. Man, my trip was 7 days. And I did some really cool shit and I can't wait to share it with you. It was like a beautiful, chaotic nightmare train wreck of a mess that I am so goddamn grateful for. So this is one lesson out of I don't even know how many, probably 20. And look what I got from this. I went all the way to the end. All the way to the end. I never thought, what if I chose to stay here by myself? What's the worst thing that can happen? She gets pissed. She's upset about it. She doesn't like the decision that I made. And I pack my shit up and I go stay at a hotel. That would actually been go all the way to the end because that was actually the fear. That was the reason why I said yes to going with her in the first place, right? But when I made the decision, I went to the end of my pain. What would happen if my pain was here? What would happen if I felt this way? What happened if I felt that way? No, fuck that. The question should always be, what does your soul need? My soul needs solitude, and I need to be able to take care of this knee and do a million different things that I need to do in any given moment to make it feel better. And in order to do that, I can't be riding around in a car for 3 or 4 hours with you. So, what was the decision that was being made? I need to be where I can take care of my knee. Worst case, what are you fearing? Well, the reason why I wasn't thinking about that to make that decision, because I don't want her to be mad. I don't want it to cause a fight. I don't want it to cause disconnection. I don't want it there to be an issue. I don't want to go through the confrontation and the blow up because I'm fucking mean as fuck when I get pissed off. And I just don't want that for her or me. So I repositioned the whole fucking thing and I put myself in the pain level. God, this is huge. God, I hope that you're loving this because this is huge. Now start paying attention because you can't fake a frequency. You become it. And the way that you become it is in these micro moments of decision, not the big fucking moments of decision. They are in micro moments. When the sink's full of dishes and it's someone else's job that they were supposed to do, and they know that they were supposed to do it, but they haven't done them, and you could easily just do them, that's a micro moment where you let them pile up, where you don't have anything, where it's fine. If you need a plate, you just wash yours. You need a bowl, you just wash yours. You need a cup, you just wash yours. Fuck everyone and everything else because there is one person who's on the hook for that. And if they don't do what they need to do, then every single person who comes behind them realizes that they faltered. And guess what? Now they have to hold that. Why are you going and rescue them when you can clearly just clean a bowl or a plate or silverware for yourself and they can still have their feet held to the fire? Because you want to make excuses for them. They're busy. They've got this, they've got that, and da 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 and blah blah blah. I could easily just do it. Da 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 blah blah. I don't like the way they do the dishes anyways. I don't like how they do that anyways. I don't like how I'll just do it. You have to become the frequency and you've got to do it in micro moments. I did not say take baby steps. I said do it in micro moments. That was a micro moment that became the center and pivotal moment for me finding my rhythm. That was the biggest thing that happened on that trip. That was the first thing where I tuned. That was the first thing where my beat just started dropping. Boom, 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 boom. But if I hadn't have done that, what came next would have never happened. Okay. So it's huge, right? I had done something earlier that morning that started the process of my rhythm coming into beat, right? But had I not spoke up right then, I would have been fucked. It would have kicked me completely back off. It's the micro moments. So now it's time for you to start reclaiming this. Allow divine timelines. Love the version of yourself that has already had enough, given enough, shown up enough. Just go ahead and love her. Just give her that yumminess. There's nothing left for her to do except to root into soul trust. Release the logic, release the mind, soul trust. Move in ease. And when the guilt rises, go to the worst case scenario. What happens if I don't invite them along? Will they get mad? Will they think I'm rude? Will they be angry at me? Will they stop talking to me? Will they no longer want to be in my life? Am I willing to not invite them so that I can move at my own rhythm and what feels best to me, regardless of what they do? Because if they do that, I'm going to hold my ground and speak from my soul. And then they're still going to have to decide what they want to do with it. Yes, I'm willing to blow up every relationship, every connection, everything that I have to choose me. Rise in regulation, resonance, and radiance. Follow your pace of peace and lead from clarity. See, if I would have gone on that DoorDash trip, I would have taken action after collapse. The collapse would have been my knee pain and how excruciating it would have been. That would have been the collapse. And then the clarity would have been, okay, I can't do that. But instead, I led from clarity on the front end and said, I'm only willing to take action for myself that gives me the best outcome of this. Why? Because I'd already given a ton of myself. I had fallen in a hole the day before because I was watching the girls because I said I would help. And I wanted to. Understand this wasn't asked of me. This was volunteered from me. I had already given a lot and I had felt depleted, right? So my clarity was that this is my stopping point. I choose me now. It is so important that you choose nervous system regulation and sovereignty over external performance. And external performance looks like, what is it that they want me to do that's going to make them feel good, whole, loved, da da da. First, you've got to see, do you have that capacity to give to someone else? Or is it important that you give it to yourself first because you've already given so much? Co-create with other people from overflow, not the dynamic of the relationship, the attachment level, and all of those sort of things, codependence and that. Co-create from overflow, not from obligation, whether it's your fucking kid or your partner. You move from overflow, not on the obligation that it's your child and that's what you're here for and that's your purpose and that's what you agreed to and that's what you signed up for and that, since you were a child, the only thing you ever wanted to be was a mother. It doesn't matter. You still have to co-create from overflow, not the obligation or the pool or your purpose. You have to be in overflow in order to live your purpose, regardless of what that purpose is. And you want to build systems that support embodiment. Start stepping away from the ego and your RAS leading, your reticular activating system, and focus on systems that support embodiment. So now I want you to ask yourself, what frequency have I actually been building from? What version of me is my current life reflecting? And what would I change if I started trusting my soul? What frequency have I actually been building from? What version of me is my current life reflecting? And what would change if I started trusting my soul? You want help getting into rhythm? It's $5.55 a month, the Rhythm membership. Okay? I would love to have you in here. No repeats, just straight rhythm for your soul, where you can work with your emotions so that you break through sabotage cycles to help you calibrate. It's about getting into your rhythm so that you can then take that rhythm and use your soul blueprint in order to heal. So the link will be in the show notes. And here is your final declaration. I calibrate. I rise in the frequency of everything I already am. I lead. I want to update that. I lead. I calibrate. I rise in the frequency of everything I already am. Embody this. Choose yourself so completely that nobody gets to question your worth again. Extend to your soul the same mercy you once gave away to people who fucking dropped it. And stop shrinking to be chosen by people who can't even hold you. You're not a placeholder, you're the fucking revolution. So show up, speak up, and burn the damn box. I'm Power Coach Alishia, and this is your invitation to rise.